Summary of poem The Brook by Alfred Lord Tennyson. The brook, which is the speaker of the poem, says that it started in a body of water where coots and herons often gather. The brook rushes forward all at once. As the brook flows through the plants that grow along the stream bank, the sunlight sparkles on the water. After that, the brook flows slowly into a valley. As the brook picks up speed, it rolls down many hills and seeps through small cracks in some of the hills. Along the way, the brook flows through several villages, a small town, and under many bridges. The brook finally flows by a farm owned by a man named Philip. The brook is going to flow into the river, which is already very big and full. The brook says that people have short-lived lives, but the brook will always be there. As it starts to go back where it came from, the brook rushes over stone streets and paths, making music as it flows over the rocks. The brook pools into bays with churning water and then tumbles over small stones on the shore or at the bottom of the bay. As it flows through the countryside, the brook curves around the stream bank and goes by many meadows and pieces of farmland that are both being used and not being used. It also flows by land that looks like it belongs to fairies, with lots of green plants with leaves and small flowers. As it flows quickly towards the river, the brook makes little trickling sounds as it goes. The brook reminds people that life is short, but the brook will always be there. The brook zigzags across the land as it flows through the countryside. It talks about a flower that floats along with the water, a few hardy trout, and some fish called graylings that live in fresh water. As the water in the brook flows towards the river, it sometimes foams and bubbles. The brook's surface sometimes looks like little waves that crash melodically onto the rocks and sand in the stream bed. As it rushes to join the big river, the strong brook carries rocks, flower petals, and fish with it. Even though people's time on earth is short and temporary, the brook will keep going on forever. The brook moves slowly through grassy meadows and fields and through densely planted hazel trees that give shade to the area. Along the stream bank, wildflowers called forget-me-nots are pushed by the moving water. The brook says that these forget-me-nots are for people who are madly in love. The brook talks about how it flows quietly and can look dark and murky at times. Sometimes, the light bounces playfully off the stream, or perhaps the stream bounces off of the riverbank. At the same time, birds called swallows just skim the surface of the water as they look for food. The sun shines through the leaves that surround the stream, making a woven pattern on the surface of the water. When the sun reflects on the moving surface of the shallow, sandy water of the brook, it looks like it is dancing. As it flows through a forest full of thorny bushes at night, the water makes low, quiet sounds. When it gets to a sandbank full of small pebbles, the stream slows down. It then takes a moment to swirl around the leafy greens, like watercress, that grow in the shallow water of the stream. Once more, the brook keeps going in a winding path towards the big river. The brook reminds people that even though people are born and die, the brook will always be there.
About the poet. Tennyson was Queen Victoria's poet laureate, a kind of spokesperson poet, when he wrote The Brook. He was taking over for the late William Wordsworth, who had been Wordsworth's poet laureate. During the Queen's six-decade reign, the British colonial empire kept growing. Victoria was named Empress of India just 10 years before Tennyson wrote The Brook. At the same time, Britain kept getting more and more industrial. Even though there were many benefits to industrial progress, it also caused problems for the natural landscape. As factories, machinery, and industrial cities grew, they encroached on the wilderness. For example, Gerard Manley Hopkins wrote a poem in 1877 called God's Grandeur about how this was wrong. Literature often shows that both colonialism and industrialization are bad. But as poet laureate, Tennyson's job was to cheer up the English people by praising England's progress. In The Brook, which is about a beautiful part of the English countryside, he completely avoids the issue. The brook, which is the speaker of the poem, does flow by a town, a few small villages, and dozens of bridges, but that is the only hint that Tennyson gives of industrialization. Obviously, we don't know if these villages are quaint, old-fashioned hamlets that haven't been touched by industrialization or if they are part of a larger trend of industrialist, concentrated communities. The poem lets the reader think about these questions on their own.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.